Hey everyone. So lesson 3.8 is taking us through an experiment that is very similar to a very famous one done at Yale University. This experiment is often referred to as the John-Jen study. Basically what it does is it creates two fake resumes that are identical in nature with the exception of the name on the resume. So one resume says John and the other one says Jen. And basically, in all these experiments that were all kind of modeled after the one done at Yale, we randomly assign one of those resumes to a subject. We ask the subject to read the resume and then to rate the candidate in terms of like their hireability. And the whole purpose of this experiment is to see whether there's any gender discrimination going on. Because the only thing that's different about the resumes is that one has a male name and the other one has a female name. But all the qualifications that are written on the resumes, like the phone number, the address, everything on the resume is identical except the gender of the candidate. So before we even start talking about the means in question 1 and 2, let's just draw a design, a flow chart, so that you can kind of see the different phases of this experiment. All right, let me use this space right here. Okay, so for the one that we're using today, there's 36 subjects. Okay, and they have been randomly assigned to one of two groups. So we'll just call it group number 1 and group number 2. And they did it in a way so that the groups are balanced. So there's 18 people in each group. Okay. Group number 1 all received the John resume, and group number 2 all received the Jen resume. And then each person was asked to rate the candidate. And now what we'll want to do is we want to compare the ratings. Okay. And so the intention is, if we notice a large discrepancy in the ratings, then we would have convincing evidence that there's gender discrimination going on. Okay, but if the ratings that are coming back for John and Jen are, pretty similar on average, then there wouldn't really be any evidence for gender discrimination. All right, so because I can't, be with you guys today and capture your responses, again, we're going to use the responses from A Day to do our debrief. Okay. Now there shouldn't be a whole lot of difference here because we're just calculating some means. So for John, you find the average of those 18 values, you get 5. So John's average rating was a 5. And then for Jennifer, it was a 4.72. Okay. So the difference between John's mean rating and Jen's mean rating was 0.28 on this, 1 to 10 rating scale. Now we're going to refer back to these numbers later on, and so we're going to give them some labels right now. Okay, so the value 5, I'd like you on your notes to label this x bar 1. Okay. So x bar, remember, is the symbol for a sample mean, and then we're using the subscript 1 because, well, John was the first candidate. Okay. And then for the value 4.72, let's go ahead and label that x bar 2. Again, x bar because this is a sample mean, and the subscript 2 because Jennifer was the second candidate. And so what that means is the third value, the difference, we can go ahead and label that as x bar 1 minus x bar 2, right? That number just represents the difference in the two sample means. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and debrief the first two questions. So what evidence do we have that gender discrimination may have occurred? Well, we have the means there, and we can clearly see that Jennifer's mean is lower than John's mean. Okay? And so we have some evidence of gender discrimination. Now, some evidence isn't the same as convincing evidence. And I want to remind you of the activity we did in the first week of school about Joy, right? So Joy had this claim that, she can smell Parkinson's disease. she got 11 out of 12 shirts correct. What we wanted to know is that convincing evidence or not? And what we did is we did a bunch of simulations. Each one of us did a trial where we kind of just guessed how many shirts belonged to Parkinson's patients. We made a dot plot, which you can see it's on the back wall there. And we compared Joy's result to all the trials that we did in our simulation. And we used the fact that nobody in our simulations had a trial that was on par with what Joy got. And so that provided our convincing evidence that Joy could actually smell Parkinson's disease, right? She performed a lot better than any of us guessers were able to perform. And so this activity is going to take us through a similar approach, right? We want to try to figure out whether the difference 0.28 is unusually high, or is that just kind of what you would a difference that you would expect to happen just by random chance? Yeah. So that actually leads to the second question, right? What are some other explanations for why the results happened? If it wasn't gender discrimination, right? Well, yeah, maybe it just happened by random chance, right? Maybe John just got a bunch of nice people assigned to his resume and they gave him those scores, and maybe Jen just got a bunch of grumpy people assigned to her resume and she got those scores, right? Maybe it was just random chance who was assigned to each of those resumes, right? Just like we could say maybe Joy can't smell Parkinson's disease, maybe she just got really, really lucky. Okay? So there's always that possibility, right? The result could be due to some factor, like being able to smell Parkinson's or gender discrimination, or the results might just be due to luck. All right, so now what we're going to do is go through the simulation. Okay. So we want to know, is the difference between these mean ratings statistically significant, right? Is the difference 0.28 much greater than what we would see happening just by chance? Okay. And so we're going to do a simulation to answer that question. All right, so here's the description of the simulation. We're going to read through it, but in reality, we're going to modify it a little bit. Okay. So step one, we'll use 36 pieces of paper to represent the different ratings in the experiment. On each paper, we'd write one of those ratings listed at the top of the page. So for example, there were 8 ratings of 3, so we would write 3 on 8 pieces of paper. Okay. And then we're going to mix the pieces of paper up and make 2 new piles. So essentially what we're saying here is, this person who gave John a 5 was going to give a 5 no matter what. Whether they received the John resume or the Jen resume, that person was just going to give a 5. Okay. And this person who gave a 1, was not, discriminating against Jennifer, but that person was just going to give a 1 no matter what. So what we're assuming is there's no gender discrimination going on and that these scores just happened by random chance. So let's see what would happen if we just re-randomized all the numbers, right? Re-randomize all those scores. Right. So we're writing them on paper, shuffling the papers, and then forming 2 piles. Okay. So this represents randomly reassigning the ratings to the 2 treatment groups. Okay. Again, I want to emphasize that this random reassigning represents our assumption that there's no gender discrimination and people were just going to give those scores no matter what. Okay. So now we have these 2 new piles of the numbers all mixed up again. The first pile is going to represent John's new scores, and the second pile will represent Jennifer's new scores. Yeah. Now the reason we're not going to do it this way is, number one, I'm not there with you. Number two, it would have taken a lot of time for me to put together all these 36 pieces of paper, and I need to have a set for every student. That was more work than I had time to prepare. So we're going to do the simulation digitally. Okay, so I have a website for you to go to where the website will randomly reshuffle those scores and reassign them to John and Jen. Okay. If you have access on your phone, you can use your phone to access the website. Otherwise, go ahead and grab a cart out of the laptop. But the website you want to go to, it's tinyurl.com /John Jen study. Okay, tinyurl.com /John Jen study. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on my screen. Let's see if I can do this. Split view. All right. If you happen to have Canvas open, I put a link in today's agenda. I just called it Reshuffler. So it's going to open up an Excel file. Okay, let's see if I can still split this. Okay. All right. So in this Excel file, what you see are John's original ratings in the top left, Jen's original ratings in the top right, and then you see a button or just a cell that says press F9 to reshuffle. Okay. Now you actually don't have to press anything because every time this page loads again, it automatically reshuffles the numbers. Okay. So it's taking all 36 scores, shuffling up, and then assigning John and Jen a new set of scores. And that's what you see in those two rows there, right? So you see John's new set of scores and Jennifer's new set of scores. Okay. Now I also kind of designed this Excel sheet so that it will automatically calculate the mean of John's new scores and the mean of Jennifer's new scores and the difference so that you don't have to go through that trouble. Okay. So all you're going to do now is everybody's going to do their own trial, right? Because we want to get a lot of results. So you'll open this page and then you'll copy the new scores. This will go on the bottom of page 1. So I'm not going to do it all, but say John got 6, 5, 5, 5, etc. Jennifer's new scores are 4, 5, 5, 5, etc. Okay. And then on the second page, you'll record John's new mean. So I got 4.778. Okay, you are not writing these numbers. You are writing your own numbers, right? The numbers from your trial. Okay, Jennifer's new mean is 4.944, and the difference. And pay attention here because the difference could be a positive difference or a negative difference. So sign is important. Okay, so for my trial, I got a difference of negative 0.167. Okay, all right, so everyone's going to do this. And then your guest teacher is going to give everybody one sticker dot. Okay, on that sticker dot, you are going to write the difference you got after reshuffling the scores. And then there should be a poster that your guest teacher is going to put up on the sideboard. The poster is pinned to the wall behind desk J2. And so it's just a number line, and everyone's going to put their dot on that number line. And then afterwards, once the whole class has put their dot up, you'll copy the dot plot on your paper and then work through the rest of the questions with your table. Okay. And then there'll be another video debriefing the second page. All right, so recap, go to the website, tinyurl, do the reshuffling, okay? Record the new means for John and Jen, record the difference in their new means, write it on a dot, stick the dot on the poster. All right, I'll see you back in, I don't know, probably 15 minutes, give you guys time to work through the second page.